Meg is a married mom of three who became involved in resistance against gender ideology after her volunteer work with breastfeeding mothers was impacted. She's a sex realist advocate for women, parents, and children. She lives in the state of California in the United States, and she works with Women Are Real.
Women Are Real is a grassroots group of women dedicated to elevating women's voices and promoting women's rights, dignity, and safety in this time of gender ideological madness. Our logo is inspired by the American suffragette movement. This is Alice Paul, founder in 1916 of America's National Women's Party. We deliberately use very simple introductory language, or we hope it's simple. We assume most people don't really understand what's happening with gender ideology or why it matters for women's rights. So we start with the basics. Here in this little statement, we specify sports, locker rooms, prisons, and shelters just to give some clarity to the idea of women's spaces that are being invaded. This is not intended to be an exhaustive list, of course. The story of Women Are Real starts back in November of 2016 when this entire family, lesbian couple Charlotte Reed and Patricia Wright, and their adopted son Benny Wright, were murdered in their Oakland, California home. The story of this horrific triple murder is well recorded by Kara Dansky on her Substack. So if you are not familiar, please check that out. One of the many disturbing aspects was that for a crime that would normally have been fodder for exhaustive reporting and even sensationalism in our news media, this crime was instead remarkably underreported to the point most of the public had no idea this had happened. It seems obvious our local and wider mainstream media wanted to hide the fact the murderer is a man who pretends to be a woman. The murderer calls himself Dana Rivers. Rivers was arrested and jailed shortly after the murders, but his trial did not occur until 6 years later. Meanwhile, in July of 2022, two women met at the first ICONS, which is the Independent Council on Women's Sports, conference in Las Vegas and realized they were both from San Francisco. One is lesbian activist Julie Lane, and the other is Cynthia Cravens, who later ran for a California State Senate seat against Scott Weiner. I'll be talking about him more later. San Francisco, where Julie and Cynthia live, and Oakland, where the Reed Wright family lived, are part of an area of Northern California known as the Bay Area, so named for the San Francisco Bay. This area is well known for being a hardcore Democratic Party stronghold in California, a solidly Democratic Party state. It is a painful fact that the American Democratic Party has gone all in for gender ideology. This poses a unique difficulty for Bay Area women who are sex realists, especially if they otherwise politically lean towards being a Democrat. Cynthia and Julie thought Bay Area women needed to know they were not alone and have a safe place they could meet like minded women and discuss their growing concerns about gender ideology and its encroachment on women's rights. So they founded San Francisco Turf Central to connect with other women and create such social opportunities. They also courageously began to do simple street actions and post pictures online, like this one here, where they were protesting at a gender clinic. By early 2023, their actions had caught the attention of other sex realist women around the state, and SF Turf Central inspired Sacramento Turf Central and Los Angeles or LA Turf Central. These are small, locally focused, independent groups using a similar model. Realizing there was a media blackout on the Rivers trial, a small number of women attended the first day of the trial on October 17th, 2022, including Cynthia Cravens and eventual Women Are Real founder Jane Burns. These women began talking with each other, they went out to eat, and the seeds of Women Are Real began to take root. They wanted to do something to raise awareness about Rivers' crimes and the concern he would be housed in a women's prison if convicted, which of course he eventually was. convicted and housed in a women's prison. California state law permits men to self-ID into women's prison. This policy was championed by State Senator Scott Weiner and signed into law by California Governor Gavin Newsom in 2020. Women Are Real was chosen as a short, accessible, and intriguing name that would get people to the website for more information. In March of 2023, Women Are Real held their first direct action protest opposing men being housed with women in women's prisons. And these pictures are from that first protest. They chose the iconic Golden Gate Bridge as their protest spot to show sex realism was alive and well, even in the historically gay Mecca, San Francisco. The women were very nervous about what kind of reception they might get. Particularly concerning was the possibility of violence from Antifa, who were very active up and down the American West Coast at the time. After parking at this scenic overlook, the Women Are Real group were taking these large signs out of their cars when they were startled by a rapidly approaching group they did not know. Probably the last thing the women expected was what happened. The strangers said they were visitors from Turf Island with British accents. They were British tourists, and they said that they supported the women. It was a very heartening beginning for Women Are Real's first protest. Women Are Real's primary focus is on how gender ideology harms women and girls. We believe sex is real, binary, and immutable. Women Are Real is welcoming of women of all political viewpoints and religious beliefs or lack thereof, and everyone involved is asked to put any other differences aside just in order to work collaboratively with the group. We are a women-only group, although some men are invited to attend our protests. Before I tell you more about our direct actions, I want to highlight a few of our other activities, which is public comment and lobbying and our private social events. And this slide is supposed to show like how we feel about these things in terms of importance. In America, public entities from city councils to school boards are required to hold most of their meetings in public and to set aside part of their public meeting time for open public comment. Commenters are limited in time, but otherwise can respectfully talk about what they please. These meetings are typically recorded and archived, so the comments become part of the public record. We learned from unstoppable parent rights activist Beth Bourne that the California Interscholastic Federation, which oversees middle and high school sports in California, has public meetings. So over the last 2 years, we've been to multiple CIF meetings across the state, making public comment in opposition to their policy that permits boys into girls' sports. We also make public comment at the bill hearings when our legislators propose new laws based on gender ideology, which they unfortunately do with extreme frequency. Most people understand lobbying as using money and power to pressure lawmakers. We have no money or power, but we are passionate volunteers. We can contact our state legislators in person at their office, and we can send them emails, and we call them. We ask they vote a certain way on different bills, and we try to educate them about gender ideology and its negative impact on women's rights. Here is a group of us outside the Capitol, the California State Capitol building. The heart and soul of Women Are Real are our private events, which we call happy hours. We typically gather at somebody's home or a bar and have some drinks and food and enjoy open, free conversation with other women who know women are real and why it matters. There is no other agenda. This is social time, and it is incredibly important to help us keep our sanity and our sense of humor and just to get to know and trust each other. There are at least twice as many women present than you can see in these pictures. Many still cannot be pictured publicly because they fear losing their jobs or careers or having serious conflicts with their loved ones. These happy hours are particularly important for women who have no other safe place to speak truth. We're very proud of our collaboration with different groups over the past 2 years. WDI, you know, of course, and Women's Liberation Front. I don't think it needs any explanation. We do actions around sports with the Independent Council of Women's Sports. Our duty is focused on how gender ideology hurts families and children. We work with our duty co-lead, Erin Friday, who's an incredible advocate in California. CAUSE is a very new group that originated with members of SACTURF and Women Are Real. The acronym stands for Californians United for Sex-Based Evidence in Policy and Law. CAUSE has similar goals to Women Are Real, but membership can include men, and we have a heavier focus on political lobbying. At least that's what we're envisioning. And of course, we're specific to California. Next, I'm going to run a short video, or Joe's going to run it for me. And just to set it up, this is a protest we did in March after a brave woman named Elizabeth Kenny went public about a confrontation with a naked man in a woman's locker room at her local YMCA. The YMCA is an American institution with facilities all over the US. It has a long history of providing at a low cost, wholesome activities like swimming and exercise, as well as temporary housing. Now they unfortunately not only permit men to invade women's privacy, but openly encourage it. Since raising awareness about this man, we have heard from many other women that this is a problem at YMCAs all over the Bay Area. We've already done another protest after this one, and has led to many families and immigrants dropping their YMCA membership. Go ahead and run the video. Thank you.
Well, I tumble out of bed and I stumble in the kitchen for myself a cup of fair fishing and yawn and stretch and try to come alive. Well, I jump in the shower and the blood starts pumping out on the street. The traffic starts jumping and folks like me on the job from 9 to 5. Working 9 to 5. What a way to make a living, barely dancing by. So taking that no giving, they just use your mind.
Within women's law?
Yeah. Maybe it could be the same man. You saw
But the one I saw is quite young.
Yeah?
The one I saw is quite young.
Yeah, well,
So they just allowed him?
Yes. And they said she was uneducated.
And then she was something wrong
How
with
is
her.
that?
She didn't like
This is her husband right here. How would you feel if it was your wife that this happened to?
It'd be on.
Yeah, beyond.
yeah, it's pretty.
I'll take, I think they should do something about that.
Yeah.
transphobic curse.
I can see what you're doing,
Okay,
and
cool.
I'm glad you're doing it.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for your support.
You have these young girls who have to bear witness to a grown man's genitals. And how can you not say that that's wrong?
I guess I would just like to see proof of it. I don't know. More so than anything.
She witnessed it. But it's right here, you have a witness.
I'll take one.
I bet you don't go into women's locker rooms.
I
love you. Wow.
You and all your time, your failure to time.
What about women? What about women and girls?
You?
What about women and girls?
Is a woman.
Yeah, so you should protect her. Why do you want naked men in your
She's
locker
a woman
room?
you think isn't a woman.
Oh, so she's a boy.
So you.
So you gave birth to a boy?
You deserve to be as safe as any male.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're all the time.
Right? And this is your home. You shouldn't feel as though you can't enjoy these services.
I know. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah.
Alright, yeah, this is anti-trans.
Yeah, it's pro-woman. How do women stay safe with men like that?
Good organization, email us. Email us, please. Please.
This is why we don't use, we use the gym, but we don't use the facilities. Thank you.
Working 9 to 5. What a way to make a living, barely dancing by. So taking that no giving, they just use your mind. They never give you credit. It's enough to drive you crazy.
We vet our members and we plan our events using private communication. Typically, events are not publicized outside of the group ahead of time, although we usually contact media and local law enforcement with our location once the event is scheduled and to go. We'd like to be able to interact with the public, as you saw in this video and have real conversations with real people. And we keep quiet prior in order to avoid attracting a loud, disruptive crowd of counter protesters who would scare the regular people away. We keep our events short. Around 2 hours seems to be the sweet spot. We might assign a few spokeswomen, depending on the event, and we try to have a dedicated videographer so we can capture the event, or more than one. A woman named Mello, who is Rev Fox Online, is a wonderful documentarian. Either she or Jane typically put together our photos or videos. Editing fun videos like this one is time consuming, so we aren't able to do that for every event, but we always post at least some photos and clips of videos and commentary, and each time we do, more women reach out to us. Just to quickly highlight a few of our actions over the last 2 years. This is a Let Women Speak inspired event that we did early on called Real Women Speak. A boy was competing against girls at the big state finals of a high school track meet so we protested. This was 2 years ago this month. Boys and girls high school sports is increasingly common here, and we have a high profile controversy again this year at the upcoming state track meet. What can I tell you about Scott Weiner? He is a California state senator, and his district is San Francisco. He seems to wield outsized power and is single-handedly responsible for almost all of the terrible gender laws passed in California over the last decade. So when Kelly J. Keene was in America in 2022, she confronted Weiner during a live stream, and he hurried away rather than responding. So when he announced he would be one of the sponsors of a Halloween-themed costume party public event in October of 2023, Women Are Real saw an opportunity to have a little fun. Several women dressed up as Kelly J. Keene and went to the event and asked Scott and his staff some questions on camera. The following year, in 2024, Women Are Real was back at the same event dressed up as rights-hoarding dinosaurs who want to protect children from gender ideology. This is a bike and walking path over a busy highway in San Francisco. You can't see the highway, but here's the path. These signs are very visible to dozens of cars per minute driving underneath. This was right after the Olympic boxing outrage. Many drivers showed their appreciation by honking their car horns. This is Bernal Hill Rock, located on a roadside in a San Francisco neighborhood. For decades, it has been an informal, free speech campus for political and artistic expression. One of our brave TERFs made good use of this opportunity, sparking a paint-over battle and much chagrin on social media from the trans activists and their supporters. My favorite Women Are Real project is our podcast, hosted by founder Jane Burns and very active protest stalwart Judy C. The podcast is interviews with women about their personal peaking stories. I think we all remember the moment we realized something very strange was going on when it comes to gender ideology, and I absolutely love hearing these women's stories. The podcast is available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and many of our members have been interviewed for this project, as well as women across the U.S. If you would like more information about Women Are Real or would like to inquire about joining, our website is womenarereal.org, and we are at Women Are Reals on X. Thank you so much.